Perhaps you too are depressed and tired of the way things are in the US and you want to have an amazing life where you can afford things here in the Middle Kingdom.
You've reached the destination.
Hello and welcome to the pros and cons of living in Chongqing. This video was mostly filmed in Chongqing, where I lived for 5 years. Although I'm in the US right now, most of the videos on this channel were uploaded from China. Yes, people within the Great Firewall still have access to YouTube. Since I'm now in the US, I can say whatever I want without any problems. Because before, maybe I couldn't speak freely. No government has ever paid me or forbade me from saying anything. That is one of the funniest narratives on YouTube. Maybe it applies to someone, but not me. The CCP isn't paying me when I say something positive, and the US government surely is not paying me when I say something negative about China. If you have some ideas on where I could sign up for such a thing, please let me know. I've made dozens of videos about Chongqing, and more frequently now I'm asked, should I move to Chongqing or insert any other city in China here? My intent with these videos is to give you all the information possible without bias so that you can decide for yourself. I won't tell you what you should or shouldn't do, but I will tell you my list of pros and cons of choosing to live in Chongqing. Okay, number 1 on the list. Pro for CQ. Low cost of living. My rent is 266 US dollars, but I don't pay that in US dollars. No, that would be crazy. This is China. I pay in yuan.
Throughout this video, I use different words for currency, yuan, kuai, and RMB all mean the same thing, Chinese renminbi.
1,900 yuan per month affords me a beautiful apartment that I was able to design exactly the way I wanted. I've lived there for 4 years and I've loved it. There's a video all about my studio apartment linked in the description of this video. Alternatively, you could live in the iconic Raffles City building in a modern furnished apartment with amazing views. I have a friend who lives here with her family. They pay 8,000 RMB per month plus 1,500 in maintenance fees. That's about 1,308 US dollars. What do you get for that price? It includes a concierge service where they will pick up your dry cleaning, walk your dog a couple times per week, and take care of any maintenance issues you have within 5 minutes of calling them. Plus, they have a ton of amenities. The staring never stops. I spoke about this in part 2 of things I wish I knew before I moved to Chongqing, which is linked in the description of this video. I just want to add, it is 2024. We are no longer buying the "they've never seen a foreigner before" line. That's not true. Yes, they have. It may have been on Douyin, which is the Chinese version of TikTok, or it could have been on WeChat, where I've seen some of the most vile things written about foreigners in my life. It probably was when they visited a tourist site in their own city. One way or another, they've definitely seen foreigners before. And even if they haven't, this is a poor excuse for staring. This isn't an underdeveloped country. Everyone has access to the internet. Yes, even in small villages. It may be limited, but they can get to it if they want to. Chongqing is centrally located in the country, which usually means short, cheap flights. Some airports in China can be a pain to get to and a marathon to walk through, but CQ's is very easy. There are multiple metro lines that will take you to and from the airport with ease, and taxis are always readily available, and they're affordable, depending on where you live in the city. Many places in and outside of mainland China are just a 2 to 3 hour flight away from Chongqing because it is centrally located in the country. The railway stations are very convenient and easy to navigate as well, which makes quick trips to Chengdu or other places in Sichuan province really fun. Travel ease is one of the top reasons I loved living here. Chongqing is known as the fog city, and that is because it's foggy a lot. Due to the humidity and the fact that this city is literally built into mountains, most days look like this. Fun fact for you history buffs, this fog saved the city from being completely demolished during the Japanese War. They couldn't see where to drop them things. Summer is extremely hot here, and winters can get pretty cold. And unlike cities in the north part of China, we don't have heated floors or centralized heat control. Often in the winter, I have 2 heaters running at the same time in my apartment because also a lot of places here are not insulated. In the wintertime, you will often see Chinese people in their homes wearing coats. In school, too, living in Chongqing in the winter, you will quickly learn how to layer properly. The kids have a ton of layers on, and so do I. The food is delicious. Not only is it tasty, it's extremely affordable. It's not uncommon for young, single people to live in places without kitchens. In many cases, it's cheaper to eat all of your meals out rather than cook at home. A day of meals in Chongqing may look like this. A baozi and soy milk for breakfast. That's about 3 to 6 RMB. Some noodles for lunch. That's about 8 to 12 RMB. For a snack, probably some fruit, which may be anywhere from 5 to 20 RMB, but a lot of times if you work in a big place, it's free. And for dinner, maybe some hot pot. I never personally bought a solo hot pot, so I'm just gonna guess that maybe it's around 30 RMB for dinner. All of that together is about 64 RMB. That's less than 10 US dollars. If you eat at Western places or high-end restaurants, obviously it's going to be more expensive. Unlike the US, fast food in China is very expensive in comparison to local food. A typical meal at McDonald's, KFC, or Pizza Hut on average is about 50 RMB. That's only $7 to $8, but a meal at a local restaurant in Chongqing is probably half of that. A full meal, maybe 25 RMB, which is $3 to $4. No matter how you look at it, eating well in Chongqing is way more affordable than it is everywhere in the US. Sichuan food is arguably the best Chinese food there is. Arguably. There's a lot of good food in this country. The people who come here and they're like, oh, the food is disgusting, it's because you didn't know what to order. I understand. I didn't know either when I first got here. Chinese food in China is nothing like Chinese food in the Western world. There aren't a lot of foreigners in Chongqing. Why is this a con? Well, because it may be more difficult to make friends with other Westerners because there's just not a lot. Typically, you end up being friends with your coworkers. But say you work for an independent company or you are the only foreigner at your job, it might be a little bit more difficult to make friends with Westerners because it's just not a lot. It's not like Shanghai or Beijing where you're going to go outside and see one every day. I go for days without seeing another foreign face unless I work with them. Days, months even. Now, why is that a pro? Well, if you want to learn Mandarin, if you want to speak Putonghua, then it's probably a good idea to live in a place where you have to use it, like Chongqing. Most people do not speak English here. Oh, wait a minute. I never expected them to. No matter where you live in China, it's important to learn the language. It was always a surprise to me when someone decided to speak English to me, even in places like Shanghai where it is spoken more often. In the US, where there is no official language, there's a common phrase said.
You're an American. You should speak English.
Why do our politicians make us give driver's license exams in 12 languages? This is Alabama. We speak English.
The Chinese version of this is often said as well. 这是中国，我们说普通话，我不会说英语。This is China, we don't speak English, we speak Chinese. This has been said to me so many times. Not in that same American way where it's like, why are you speaking English? You need to speak Chinese. No, it's usually them just like giving you a heads up that they don't speak English. 我知道. I didn't expect you to. I'm gonna just use my little translator here for the words that I don't know, and you know, everything's gonna be fine. There aren't a lot of English speakers here, so that can be a con if you're having a difficult time learning the language. But it was a pro for me. I'm a wannabe polyglot. I try to learn a bit of the language of every country I've ever been to and plan to continue to do that for the rest of my life. Conversely, I know people who live in Shanghai who don't know any Chinese at all. They've never had to use it. They don't speak Mandarin here. They do, obviously. I'm in China. They speak Mandarin. However, typically they speak Chongqing here in Chongqing. It is obviously a dialect of Putonghua, proper Mandarin, but even if you're a fluent Mandarin speaker, you're not going to understand Chongqing. Even other Chinese people from other regions come here and they don't understand Chongqing, okay? That's one of the reasons why, that's one of the excuses I use for not for not knowing this language as well as I should. What I'm listening to often is a mix. There have been times when I'm repeating something that I've heard a million times and a student will be like, oh, 你说重庆话. And I'm like, I did? What did I say? I said something in Chongqing. I don't want to speak Chongqing. I want to speak proper Mandarin, but it gets confusing when you're, you know, I'm learning in real time. I'm immersed in this culture, so I'm picking up things that I just hear, and it's yeah. The skyline, the views. This city has the best skyline in China. Fight me, at me. I will argue with you all day about this. Shanghai and the Bund has nothing on CQ skyline. I said what I said. Without a VPN, I would never be able to upload any of these videos. You can't access any Western websites without a VPN. Never be able to check my email. Google doesn't work. Facebook doesn't work. Instagram doesn't work. WhatsApp doesn't work. China has its own version of everything that we use in the Western world. They've built their own. So in order to use the ones you're used to, you're gonna have to use a VPN at all times. People often ask me, which one do you use? First of all, more than one. You need more than one because they're unreliable, unpredictable, and I guess they're illegal, but everybody knows that we use it. I'm just going to put them on the screen, the ones that I've used. I am not endorsing any of them because, like I said, they all are unreliable. That's why you need more than one, because one day you're going to wake up and you're going to try to check your email, or you're going to try to send a WhatsApp message, or you're going to try to post a picture on Instagram and you have no access. It's a very annoying part of living here. But that's the trade-off for having a very comfortable, cushy, safe life here in China. People talk about the safety often here, and for me, yes, it is very safe. It's one of the safest countries in the world. I often tell this story about this time I left 2 bottles of expensive wine on a curb while I was loading a taxi. I was with someone else. She had a whole bunch of stuff at IKEA. All I had was wine. I put it on the curb to help load the car, and we drove off without it. Went back 2 hours later, and you know what? It was still there. It was still there. That's what I'm talking about in terms of safety. There are cameras everywhere, and people don't want to get caught up in no mess over some stolen wine or a stolen camera or a stolen anything. You can leave your phone out on the table in a bar, and it's going to be right where you left it, or the bartender's going to have it. So that definitely is a pro. I think for me, safety is not always at the forefront of my mind because I kind of feel safe anywhere. I feel a level of safety higher than some people, I think. My head is always on a swivel, if you know what I mean. Another way to put it is I feel the same level of risk wherever I go. But for different reasons. In Chongqing, it's very common to see children playing with very realistic looking toy guns. That's pretty triggering for me as an American. I know they're fake, but I can't stop my heart from beating just a little faster every time I see one. It's also important to remember, although guns are illegal in China, knives aren't. There have been mass unalivings done that way during my time in China. One happened at a kindergarten. Car accidents are a huge safety concern too. In Chongqing, the yellow taxis are often referred to as yellow Ferraris. They speed through the streets with you holding on for dear life in the back. Terrible accidents happen all the time. In my 5 years in China, I've been in 3 car accidents. Thankfully, they were all minor. The biggest safety concern I faced in China was being in the wrong place at the wrong time or reacting to something in the wrong way. One night, I was exiting a nightclub. All of my friends were in front of me. Suddenly, someone smacked my butt very hard. A full-on pow. I turned around and I'm staring at 3 Chinese men. I'm ready to swing on all of them, but I know I can't. They know I can't do anything, and I know I can't do anything. Even if I knew which one violated me, if I hit him back, I would be the one arrested, I would be the one fined, and I would be the one deported ultimately.
I should have fallen to the ground like this. This is the correct Chinese way to react to what happened to me. In China, the person who harms you is liable for compensating you.
In that same vein, I once saw an elderly man fall down the steps in a metro station, and I couldn't do anything to help him. Luckily, someone quickly notified station staff, medics were called, and it was handled very quickly. I will link a video in the description of this one that goes into great detail about this phenomenon. It's extremely interesting and one of the worst things about China. There's no good segue into what I'm about to say next from that, but I don't want to end on a bad note, so Chongqing is a city that makes it easy to feel wealthy. There's a whole thing about flaunting wealth in China that I'm not going to get into. Also a very interesting rabbit hole for you to go down. The last pro on this list is that you can have so many high-end experiences in this city with a very low price tag. So that's it. That's my list of pros and cons for living in Chongqing, China. Between this and the other videos that I've made about this city, I hope you can come to a conclusion on your own. Let me know in the comments. If you decide to visit this city, send me a message. Even though I won't be living here anymore, I can probably give you some insight on some things. See you at the next destination.